Hello, Scott Baker here, Precinct 23 Chair and candidate for County Chair in Montgomery County Republican Party. Got another video for you. There's been some developments this week that I thought I'd let you know what's going on. And the title of this video is Thou Shalt Not Use the Word Republican Unless We Say So. The summary, this is about a resolution that was about PACs. The County Executive Committee, the CEC, passed a resolution to condemn PACs they don't like. That's what it comes down to. The excuse was that a local PAC uses the word Republican Voter Guide on their Republican Voter Guide. There's lots of other claims in the resolution, but that's what it boils down to, and I'll play you an excerpt of that. The party leadership plans to use Republican Party resources to advertise and campaign against the Republican Voters of Texas PAC, or RVTX PAC. I'm going to play an edited clip of the introduction of the resolution. The meeting was 3 hours long. Part of my point about the meetings being too long, we spent an hour and 20 minutes on this, so I'm not going to play you the entire thing. I did post the whole meeting on my Rumble and YouTube and Facebook channels, so you can go watch the whole thing. Welcome you to do that if you're interested, so you can see the whole debacle unfold. But I'm going to play you just the beginning of it so you have a little clue on what's going on.
I'm Kim Weber, Precinct Chair 97. Whereas the bylaws of the Montgomery County Republican Party, MCRP, prohibit endorsement of any candidate or issue on the Republican primary ballot in Section 1101.
I've made some videos about this.
Whereas individual Republican leaders, including but not limited to precinct chairs, have a First Amendment right to endorse whoever they prefer. Whereas Political Action Committee have no official affiliation with the Republican Party of Texas, nor the local county Republican Party, and engage in endorsement actions in Republican primaries based on their own choices.
That's true.
Whereas the Republican Voters of Texas PAC has been publicly condemned by the Montgomery County Republican Party for distributing voter guides and other materials presented with the words Republican Voter Guide in a prominent manner at the top of the documents with the required attribution statements of paid political advertising by Republican Voters of Texas PAC in a much less prominent location and size as to reasonably call voters to believe such endorsements originate from or are sanctioned by the Montgomery County Republican Party rather than the Republican Voters of Texas PAC.
Okay, so her claim is that the Republican Party bylaws prohibit endorsement. They do. I've pointed this out. I've made multiple videos about this. We'll talk about this some more too, but I welcome you to go and watch those videos about what the steering committee, what the county chair, what they've been doing in that regard and violating that bylaw itself. The other claim that the PACs are not affiliated with the Republican Party. Well, that's true. That's obvious. She also mentioned that PACs have the right, individuals have the right to endorse whomever they choose. And a PAC is, by definition, a group of individuals who are endorsing whomever they choose. So she acknowledges that it's a constitutionally protected right, essentially. Then they tried to argue that it wasn't somehow. And this is their big claim, especially, that using the words Republican Voter Guide is somehow deceptive. So in a Republican primary election, telling people that you're presenting a voter guide for Republicans, which is the whole definition of that term there, Republican Voter Guide, is somehow deceptive. You're somehow too stupid to know what that means? So let's look at the voter guides. Okay, here's the RVTX, the Republican Party of Texas PAC voter guide, right? The one they held up at the meeting was actually the one from 2 years ago, but it has very similar language on it. At the top there it says Republican Voters of Texas PAC, quite prominently at the top. Election Ready Republican Voter Guide. So Republican Voter Guide is indeed prominent at the top. And then down at the bottom, political ad paid for by Republican Voters of Texas PAC, which is required by law. So they're complying with the law and formatting their voter guide like pretty much every voter guide on the planet. In fact, let's look at the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC voter guide. At the top, it says March 26th Republican Primary Voter Guide. It does have the MCTP PAC there, but you could easily see somebody reading that and saying that it says Republican Primary Voter Guide. It's essentially the same format. Look at the bottom. The attribution is at the bottom. This was the claim that it said Republican Primary Voter Guide or Republican Voter Guide at the top, and the attribution was really far down at the bottom. Even the Tea Party PAC does the same formatting and very similar language, because they're identifying clearly what this voter guide is for. It's for a Republican primary election. To me, there's not much difference between these two voter guides other than the content that's contained in them. Format's very similar. Everything's very similar. And yet, we're going to condemn the Republican Voters of Texas PAC as the party leadership, the CEC, but we're not going to condemn the Tea Party PAC for doing something very similar. In fact, I made a motion to add the Tea Party PAC to this resolution because I think if we're going to condemn one, we should condemn the other, because they're essentially doing the same thing. So what's the background here? What about these two PACs? There are two different PACs that have members who are also precinct chairs or party officers in the Republican Party. The Montgomery County Tea Party PAC is one of those PACs. That's going to be real important in a minute here. The other is the Republican Voters of Texas PAC, which also has a lot of precinct chairs on it. A PAC is a political action committee. It's a group of individuals who raise and spend money to support candidates or issues. The Supreme Court has even affirmed the right of PACs under the First Amendment, the protected right of free speech under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. That's simply a fact. And there's an obvious conflict of interest which the Tea Party PAC members deny exists. This was actually brought up at the meeting during the resolution, and a bunch of people said, no, this Tea Party PAC has nothing to do with this. Well, let's look at the RVTX PAC first.
Republican primary, there were Republicans pitted against Republicans. It's not the way we want to do politics.
There's a lot of divisiveness been going on, and I think we can overcome that. Recognize that guy? Some middle ground. We've got to find areas that we can work together on.
The whole purpose of our party is to work together to elect Republican candidates.
And so in September of 2018, we formed a political...
She's a precinct chair.
...called the Republican Voters of Texas PAC. It's about integration.
She's a precinct chair.
Giving us all a voice, giving us all an opportunity to speak for ourselves.
Lifting up people and ideas in a positive and kind-hearted way.
These people and I share two things. One is values, and the other is the love for Montgomery County.
There has to be an organization that's looking for kind of the silent majority, the folks who aren't activists, who aren't, really into politics. And I think that's what the PAC exists to focus on, is how do we serve the needs of the ordinary as opposed to, kind of the professional political class.
The organization...
She's a precinct chair.
...when the members of the organization feel like their input is welcomed and valued.
There's plenty of room for people who disagree on some things, but agree on the big things.
To work together and to try to elect candidates that would be positive influences and positive role models in the community.
We have women from every single women's Republican group as members of our PAC. Men who have shown that they're quality people. We like this thing called integrity and truth and honesty. And as much as it blows up everywhere, and especially in national politics, it doesn't need to blow up in community politics. We know how to be nice. We know how to be kind.
I think we can all join together if we work to pray that God's will be done in each and every election. Then we're all on the same side.
And working alongside people like that and having wisdom, that have honor and integrity and respect, that's a joy for me. And I love being part of this PAC. I really want to make a difference. I want this PAC to make a difference in the lives of others. I really want this PAC to help unite Montgomery County so that we can keep Texas red.
There you go. That's a video from the Republican Voters of Texas PAC. Again, they're the Republican Voters of Texas PAC. That's literally the name because they are Republican voters in Texas who formed a PAC. That doesn't seem very deceptive to me. It includes several precinct chairs. In fact, you saw several in that video. It's a little bit older video. There's actually more precinct chairs that were not in the video that are members of the PAC. It does not claim to be or represent the Montgomery County Republican Party. It simply doesn't. In fact, they put clarifying language on this year's voter guide just to make sure that it was crystal clear. And full disclosure, I am a member of the PAC. I did not participate in the endorsements this year because I'm on the ballot this year. So I recused myself from the whole process of endorsements, but I am a member of the PAC. So what about the other PAC, the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC? Why is that important? Well, this is the picture that is on their membership page, the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC. Right there in the middle, that's Kim Weber, Precinct Chair 97, who introduced the resolution to condemn the RVTX PAC. Interesting. Okay. Who else is on there? I've circled their faces to help you identify some of these folks and put their names beside them. Robert Walker, Kenneth Ernest, John Wirtz, Bob Bagley, Stephanie Cox, and down there at the bottom, former vice chair, John Boucher. Here's the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC Vetting Committee. John Wirtz, Larry Rogers, Kenneth Ernest, Bob Bagley, Lana Horde, and Louis Pedraza are all precinct chairs or party officers in the Montgomery County Republican Party. Here's the Republican Party Steering Committee. Vice Chair, Louis Pedraza, Kenneth Ernest, Robert Walker. Seems like there might be some overlap here. Look at all the committee chairs for the Republican Party of Montgomery County. We have Stephanie Cox, Bob Bagley, Louis Pedraza, Kim Weber, Robert Walker, and John Wirtz. All members and leaders in the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC. Many of them committee chairs or members of the steering committee that guide and direct the Montgomery County Republican Party. Is it possible there's a conflict of interest going on here? Because the RVTX PAC is a competitor to the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC. It's as simple as that. It gets even a little bit more nefarious because there was a steering committee meeting a couple of weeks ago. There usually is before the regular CEC meetings. And the steering committee, Kenneth Ernest, made a curious motion. January 14th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m., the steering committee met. And on page 2, under New Business, Section 14, Kenneth Ernest proposes using the L2 program. That's the new database that they spent $16,000 to purchase. L2 program email to send a text to county voters reminding them that the county party does not endorse candidates in the primary and that anyone using the Republican name is not associated with the state or county party. That sounds an awful lot like what Kim Weber said when she introduced this resolution. Seems like maybe they were working together. Then Kenneth Ernest moved that the Communications Committee craft a message to send out capping expenses at $10,000. The discussion was, do we text or produce handouts or signs? A proposal to have one 4x4 sign at each of the early voting locations. What's going to be on that sign? Condemnation of the Republican Voters of Texas PAC. They've already done this before, by the way, with their own money. Now they want to do it with the party money. Motion revised. The steering committee will propose motion that the CEC approve up to $10,000 to provide voter education and transparency through texting, handouts, and signage as provided by the Communications Committee. Incidentally, you may have already seen these steering committee meeting notes because the sheriff posted them on Facebook because of this. John Wirtz also reported that Sheriff Doolittle had contacted the Marriott and asked if MCRP is providing security for the gala. The sheriff has flat out denied this. Why would John Wirtz make this up? Well, it turns out John Wirtz was part of a group that tried to kick Sheriff Wesley Doolittle off of the ballot when he was running for sheriff. In fact, most of the Tea Party PAC was involved in that as well, and the same members of the steering committee. And you'd think something like that would require some significant evidence if you're going to claim that the sitting sheriff, the duly elected sheriff, is somehow the implication here, intimidating or retaliating against them for that? Okay. You think the county chair might say, hey, do you have some evidence? Is there some, where's the record of this? Do we have some proof? No. She feeds into this conspiracy. The chair cautioned everyone to be watchful when leaving events that you are not being followed by law enforcement. The county chair, Gwen Withrow, told everybody to watch out that you might be followed by cops. Why would they do that? Why would they want to start this whisper campaign, this innuendo that the sheriff is somehow retaliating against them or targeting them? Well, they tried to kick him off the ballot. He used to be a precinct chair, by the way, on the Republican Party CEC. And he's endorsing me for county chair of the Montgomery County Republican Party. Surely that's a coincidence, right? Let's get back to the motion here. So Kenneth Ernest moved about the $10,000 to be used to condemn the RVTX PAC. Then, at the CEC meeting, remember that 3-hour meeting we sat through? If you waited all the way to the end of the 3 hours, at the very end, almost the last thing, not on the agenda, just under new business, Kenneth Ernest stands and says this.
All right, I'm going to introduce a motion. The motion is to allocate up to $15,000 to the Communications Committee in an effort to increase voter engagement, education, and transparency.
Notice he leaves out the part about the resolution and the implications there. But they get the memo. Because who's on the Communications Committee? Right? And by the way, it also jumped from $10,000 in the steering committee meeting to suddenly $15,000 that he just motioned there, and was approved by the CEC. Who's on the Communications Committee? Who's the chair of the Communications Committee? Stephanie Cox. Tea Party member. And also very heavily involved in the campaign of John Boucher. Who's John Boucher again? Former vice chair of the Republican Party? You think they might have an interest in making sure that the Tea Party PAC voter guide is preferred over the RVTX PAC voter guide? Look at what those circles are. Gwen Withrow endorsed. John Boucher endorsed. You might be familiar with John Boucher from my other videos, where I pointed out the fact that he's running for House District 16 and has spent the last year working with Gwen Withrow and the steering committee and the members of the Tea Party to censure and remove his opponent, Will Metcalf, from House District 16. They tried to remove him from the ballot. That effort failed. They tried to censure him. That effort also failed, but they're pretending it passed. More on that later. I've made multiple videos about this. I strongly recommend you watch them. So what does it all mean? It sure looks like the Montgomery County Tea Party PAC is using the Republican Party to smear their main competition, the RVTX PAC. The county chair and steering committee are using the party like their own PAC, and have been for some time. In fact, I've shown multiple attempts to go around the Republican voters and remove candidates from the ballot, as well as other issues. They're going to spend party money, at least $15,000, to smear a local PAC. That money came from donors, maybe even from you. Is that what you wanted them to do with the party money that you donated? The party is also denying any resources to state reps Will Metcalf and Cecil Bell Jr., which directly benefits their primary opponents, especially John Boucher. The simple fact is, these are violations of CEC Bylaw 11.01. They're also contrary to party tradition. We've never done this before. In 60 years of party history, this biennium, this term, this is the first time we've done it. It's under Gwen Withrow and under this new leadership in the Montgomery County Republican Party. It's also blatant party election interference. I have a few questions about this. One is, how does any of this promote and grow the Republican Party or get out the vote? After all, that's one of our primary duties as the party leadership. The CEC, the county chair, one of the primary roles is to promote and grow the Republican Party and get out the vote. We're not doing any of that. We spent the entire term on internal warfare with Gwen Withrow and the steering committee and members of the CEC trying to eliminate any opposition, anybody that disagrees with them. How does any of that contribute to party unity? Does that even sound like party unity to you? The county chair is going around on the stump speaking about how unified the party is and how she's done such a great job of bringing the party back together. We spent an hour and 20 minutes on a resolution to basically smear a quarter of the sitting CEC. I think this is wrong. This is why I'm running. I think it's time for new leadership in the Montgomery County Republican Party. That means county chair and some of the precinct chairs need to be voted out of office. It's as simple as that. You have the chance to do that starting this month. Early voting starts February 17th and goes through February 27th. Primary election day is March 3rd. I say let the voters decide, because I think you should be in charge of the party, not a small group of party bosses or political insiders in a back room picking and choosing winners and losers for you and cutting you out of the process. I want to thank you. Thank you for watching my video and taking the time to share. Like and share the video. You know how to do all that stuff. I appreciate your comments and feedback. Let me know how you feel about this. After all, you're the voters. God bless you. God bless Texas. God bless Montgomery County. And God bless the United States of America.